Hi guys, it's Ray from C.Gars Leeds, and we're in another pairing session. Very interesting cigar today for me, and we're gonna smoke Plasencia Dominique Seleccion. That's the last year release, 2021. It's a beautiful Lancero, and my special guest today in the house is Anthony, which is a brand activation manager for Davidoff in UK. Hey Anthony.
How are you doing? You good?
Yes, very well. Thank you very much, and
good.
thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while since we've smoked this cigar, isn't it? It's
Yes.
been, I've almost forgotten how good it is, but I think we may get into it pretty nicely. It's not necessarily my favourite Vitola, as you know, but I need to give Lanceros a little bit more love, and this one is the
My favorite Vitola.
I know.
So let's do it.
I know. So this is why we're smoking it. But no, what's the pairing? What we got?
We're gonna have an interesting whiskey, which I will say a little bit more about it. It's a Saorsa Aois, and we're gonna explain a little bit more about the whiskey in a minute. But tell what's a little bit more details on the cigars. What we're gonna smoke.
Okay, so we have the Plasencia Dominique London limited edition, a beautiful Lancero with a mixture of Jalapa, Ometepe, and Esteli tobaccos. Heady mixes of tobaccos, especially those Nicaraguan tobaccos in there. So there is a lot going on. The complexity on this cigar is definitely going to pique people's interest straight away in this unique Vitola and that limited edition. You cannot buy these anywhere else. You've got to come to you guys. You can only get them from C.Gars stores and Termos tobacconist stores. So it's a wonderful one for us to have in our portfolio. We love working with these exclusive collaborations with our retailers and with our supporters and our partners across the UK. So this is a really interesting one that they're still a few boxes left, I believe, but not many. And let's burn some and let's get it cut and lit.
Yeah, we still have a few boxes. So if anyone wants to find some, just give me a shout. You know where to find
You like
me.
the sound of what you've heard?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very. You know, as you mentioned, I haven't smoked that cigar for a good few months.
Yeah,
and I'm super curious to come back again to the cigar, see how the cigar is moving in that few months, how it's been developing and everything. So let's give it a go. So, already about inching the cigar, you smoke quickly. You're like a train.
Yeah. Well.
What's the first thoughts on the cigar? What do you think?
So,
how the cigar starts?
It's interesting for me. It's a nice mix of spice in there. The spice for me is quite black pepper, so it's not a punchier spice. It's more of a nice warming spice, which is kind of really coating my tongue, coating my palate. And there's this nice indication of some cinnamon coming through. Well, for me. I get quite elaborate with these things, you know how it goes. But it's so nice mix, black pepper and cinnamon at the moment. It's starting to open up. Obviously, less than an inch into it at the moment, so we're just getting those indications of where the flavours are going. But it's definitely got that classic minerality that you get with Nicaraguan tobacco. You're chewing that smoke between puffs, which I really enjoy. So people kind of ask, well, what do you mean when you chew the smoke or you get the minerals? It's almost like when you get, say, a Volvic water or something like that, where you feel it's slightly thicker, a little bit more viscous. So you get that, for me, when I smoke Nicaraguan cigars, I get those minerals, I get that chewability of the smoke, I get that longer finish. You know, you put the cigar down, 2, 3, 4 minutes later, you're still tasting those first levels of flavour, not a dissipated version of them, which I really enjoy. I said I don't smoke as many Lanceros as I probably should, especially as we are now moving out of the summer into the more colder months. Lanceros could be my go-to for a winter smoke, but I definitely feel that what we're getting in here, obviously the construction is exceptional, the draw is exceptional. It's just about really picking those nuances of the flavours out and what can you really appreciate from them. So I think the middle part of this cigar is really where we're going to get to the good parts. Not this part isn't good, but the mid part is going to be where we really start to shine.
Yeah, very interesting one. So I'm quite agree on some of the stuff with you. In my opinion, the cigar starts with a lot of spiciness as well. But in my nose, in my palate, they're more like chili pepper spiciness, not a black pepperish.
Okay.
My nose is very sensitive on the black pepper, and every time I have black pepper, I can start literally feeling it in my nose. So for me, it's more in the throat, in the tongue, not in the nose. I'm agree with you on the sweetness.
Yeah.
I can't pick the cinnamon. I haven't needed anything cinnamon in months, so
okay.
probably cinnamon.
I'll get you something later.
Yeah. The sweetness is more sweet like a syrup, that kind of stuff, like molasses syrup, sugar syrup.
Yeah.
That's the sweetness I'm picking up, and a lot of earthy tones, in my opinion, a lot of heavy earthy tones. The cigar is not a full body yet, but there's a potential that it will become full body at some point because it's heavy, meaty cigar. I always say when the cigar is heavy it's literally in the bottom of your throat. It's very meaty, very very strong as a heaviness. I don't know if people can understand that.
I think that's the fun thing about cigars, isn't it? We can agree on individual parts of it and then kind of overriding. So we're saying there's a spice, we're saying there's a sweetness, and we're saying there's this earthy minerals kind of stuff. But the nuances of that's the fun part, and that's where it's all subjective and it's down to the individual. We will agree on the initial points of it, but into those kind of nuances in terms of food products and those kind of things, that's where it's all about building your own palate and building your own portfolio of flavours. We will say that there's a sweetness. For me, that sweetness is cinnamon. For you, that sweetness is more molassesy. But we can agree that there is a sweetness.
Yes.
And that's
pepper and sweetness.
Pepper and
spiciness.
Sweet. But what those individual ones are, there is no right or wrong.
Absolutely.
And it is subjective, and it's really fun to relate those key notes that you pick out to food products that you're familiar with, or food products that you or a smell sometimes. Sometimes it's not even just a taste, it's a smell, it's an aroma, it's an experience. When we get into like leather with cigars, that's not about have you ever gone around and licked a leather sofa or at a belt. It's having those experiences of sitting on a black leather sofa, sitting in a brown leather sofa, and that's always a fun one. Whenever we do events and we get leather in the cigar, that's always a fun one to kind of watch people slowly work that out in their head.
Thinking.
And they usually look at what sofa they're on and kind of go, okay, am I sat on this sofa? Or am I sat in this sofa? And that's always a fun one to kind of sit back and watch. And when it kind of finally clicks and it makes sense to them, and that's the fun part of cigars, the experimenting, the finding what works for you. And also, with the pairings, there's so many different pairing options. There is, again, no right or wrong.
Agree.
But we can, I think we can get into some. And
let's pour the whiskey and see how the whiskey will pair with the cigar. On theory, it sounds interesting, but let's see on the practice how is it going to be.
Let's go.
So, Anthony.
Yes.
We just poured a glass of that beautiful Saorsa Aois, which is the new release of Saorsa. Again, it's part of the Stolid Use Single Casks. It's been literally released about a few weeks ago. We have another single cask, about 700 bottles on this one. It's a big sherry bud cask, so it's similar as the previous Saorsa we released, just been aged for 3 extra years. So you probably find a lot of similarities in the other one. I know you drink the previous one and you know it very well. That will be completely new for you. And let's see what we can pick up in that. Is that actually a good pairing for the cigar? And let's see what we're thinking about it.
Perfect.
So, as I say, we have that in the glasses. It's a very, very beautiful color. As I say, it's a sherry but cask, so you can't avoid the orange and that kind of color on the drum. And the initial thought in my nose bring me a lot of cocoa.
Okay.
It's not that sweet cocoa, it's just a more dark chocolate cocoa.
Sort of cocoa nibs.
Cocoa nibs, exactly.
That's what semi-sweet.
Yeah, that's what I'm picking there. So that is a 50% alcohol, 50% ABV whiskey. So it can be a little bit harsh for some people. I get that one, but we always can drop a water. I personally don't drop water in most of the whiskeys. I prefer them strong whiskeys with a cask strength if possible. If not, closest to a cask strength or 50 above percent. So let's have a sip on that one and see what we're thinking. So before we say the first thoughts on the drinks, let's just mention the cigar.
Yeah.
It's completely different now.
Yes.
So that's one of my favorite qualities on the cigars, on the good cigars, the complexity and literally move and make you interested. The cigar is not that much spicy. I'm completely losing the spiciness in the cigar. The sweetness is slightly more than the first half, so it's very sweet cigar at the moment.
Yeah.
The earth is a little bit down as well. So majority of the notes are dark notes, dark chocolate, dark syrupy molasses as well. Molasses is very much here. And the whiskey give you additional spiciness this time because of the slightly higher ABV.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, the cocoa flavor on the nose is the same when you drink it. It's very velvety, cocoa, that kind of flavors.
Yeah.
and in my opinion, that super complement the cigar.
I think they work exceptionally well together. As you said, the spice has dissipated in the cigar, and those earthier notes have drifted away. Still getting those minerals, which are quite nice because they're kind of grabbing onto the whiskey as we're drinking it as well, and that sweetness with those more kind of cocoa nib notes in there. For me, there's almost a little touch of orange skin as well in there, a nice little citrus bit. Kind of thinking like Terry's chocolate orange in my head. It's kind of that's where it's going with the mixture of the cocoa kind of sweet notes in the cigar for me as well. So I think this is especially for the ABV, there's not that harshness there that you get. You're not kind of going, you're not sitting back and kind of chewing on it to kind of get it out. And I think that's the nice thing about this pairing. I think it's an exceptional way to kind of sit and spend an afternoon, and you've got the time with the cigar. This is a nice slow sipping whiskey as well. It's not one that you're kind of throwing back to get through the bottle kind of thing. So you're looking to have those comparing and those contrasting. I think as we make our way into the final third of this cigar, just with the Vitola, the ring gauge, it's really going to build up that intensity. So we want those nicer semi-sweet notes in the whiskey to really complement them, not be kind of washed out by them, and vice versa. We don't want either one of these to override the other. So I think this is a pairing made in heaven, in my opinion. It's pretty good.
Agree.
Pretty
Let's
good.
carry on smoking and drinking and see what will be our final thoughts on the end. So, we're on the final part of the cigar. Obviously, you smoke like way faster than me. I can't cope with you. For me, that's even super fast. But yeah, we are almost on the last part of the cigar.
Yeah.
The drink been already poured a few times. We enjoy the pairing. And what's your final thoughts on the cigar, on the whiskey, on the pairing at all?
So I think the whiskey is wonderful. We've had a couple of pours. We've had the glasses. Obviously, with the Glencairn's glass, gives you that time for those flavours to really come forward and open up. The final third of the cigar, for me, everything just works exceptionally well. You've got that wonderful underlying spice that doesn't jump out. It's there on your tongue. You've got this wonderful warming sensation on the tongue. Still got that sweetness. For me, that sweetness has changed to more of a kind of almost the top of a creme brulee, that caramelized brown sugar, those nice syrupy kind of the molasses that you were getting. I think that's kind of coming through for me in a more caramelized sugar kind of way. Beautiful. And then a little bit of cream coming through there in the final third as well, quite heavy cream. It's making all of those flavours sit a lot longer on my palate. But this pairing, it's a very good one. Definitely worth giving it a go. Grab yourself a bottle, grab a few singles, grab some friends, and really sit back and enjoy. Make the most of the last of the good weather while you can. If you need to smoke outside or if you've got somewhere inside, get the boys around and have a good night with it for sure. What do you think?
Yes, I'm agree with most of the stuff you say about the pairing and everything. For me, it's exceptionally good pairing, which I'm surprised. I'm usually good in the pairings, but that pairs so well. Even didn't try it before that. I decided let's give it a go on that one. I'm curious how that will pair with the cigar. I know the cigar, but I didn't know the whiskey back.
Yeah.
So the spiciness is there, as you mentioned. I love that one. It's not heavy, it's not anything which will put you off the cigar or put the pairing. You can still taste both of them. You can have the flavors in the cigar, you can have the flavors of the whiskey, which for me that is a good pairing, where you can still taste both of them. Not like the whiskey killed the cigar or the cigar killed the whiskey. So both pair very well. And yeah, I don't think I can add so much into the stuff you say. You mentioned so many interesting stuff in the pairing, and that was a really good session for me. Spending the time with you, having a chat, smoking, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna do that again.
Not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
Perfect. So, guys, it's that was another good session with another super special guest and a friend, and hope you enjoyed the video. And if you wanna get some of the whiskey or the cigars, you know where to find me. I'm in Leeds. We have plenty of cigars. We have plenty of whiskey here, and we even can provide you space where you can smoke actually indoor and maybe having a chat with me if you want to have a chat about the whiskey and the cigar, or if you want to disagree with something we say, let's give it a go. So stay tuned for the next one and smoke your cigars and drink your whiskey.